Okay, so the next, Roxanne, I'll invite you to please review our fiscal plan for 2016 to 2017.
Thank you very much, Madam President. We just wanted to do a quick review of the long-range fiscal plan so that we're sure members were fully informed before we consider the resolution around fees for 2016 and 2017. And Darlene has shared with you that I'm planning to retire the end of June in 2015. I said I would stay at NANB. I told myself I would stay at NANB 10 years because you don't want to wear out your welcome, but then I was so excited about the work we were doing, and we had lots of other things to do. So the board, I work by contract. I think that's a very smart thing that the board does in the executive position. I told them I didn't believe I would work the whole 5 years of a contract, and we included in it that I would give 12 months notice. So by the end of June, I need to submit my resignation. But I've been very open with them, and it truly has been a privilege to work at NANB. Part of that transition then was to say, we want to set optimal conditions for the next executive director and the board so the organization maintains its momentum. So as I said earlier, the board has been developing a strategic plan to support its ends, and they will approve and finalize that in October, and then to ensure the finances were there for the new executive director to do their work and get to know the organization. We're presenting a fiscal plan to you for 2016 and 2017. We are in a current fiscal plan. Thanks to your support of our vision, that fiscal plan is adding considerable resources to NANB, and we hope you're approving of the results you see. We're in year 3 of that plan. In 2015, there's an additional fee increase. And the fiscal plan we're proposing is 0 and 0 for NANB fees in 2016 and 17, and I'll explain to you the nuance of CNA and CNPS fees. So the first slide here shows you, and I should have thought of this, Marilyn, we could have put that up. That's what we're seeing about membership. Now, we always talk about 9,000 members, and you're going to wonder, well, why is that number there? These are the number of individuals who have full years registration who are in active practice. So you see a bit of drop off. And when you look at 2016 and 2017 and 15, what we've done is Shelley has looked at what we were experiencing, and we've been very conservative because we don't want to plan in a Pollyannish way. We've used 2% reduction to go forward. And so that's what the premises of this fiscal plan is based on. We don't know if that's going to be the reality, but that's what we've used to predict. So is everybody following me there? Those are not real numbers in 2015, 16, and 17, but based on what we're experiencing in 2012 and 2013, and with preliminary data from 2014, that's the prediction we moved out. Because as you know, the only revenue NANB receives to do its regulatory work is your registration fees. That's our responsibility and our privilege as being part of a self-regulated profession. So the next slide, Shelley. What I'm representing here is the current fiscal plan. So you see 2012, 13, 14, and 15. And across there you see your NANB fees, and the long-range fiscal plan included a $30, $30, $20, and $20 fee increase for NANB fees during that period of time. The next line shows you CNA fees, and CNA fees have not increased in the last number of years. Prior to that, there were significant increases, and we believe CNA needed those increases to do its work. CNA has committed to the fee of $54.95 for all nurses in 2015, and we don't know what the fees will be in 2016 and 17. CNPS, which is your liability protection, and you receive that because NANB is a member of CNPS, and we include that fee in your registration fee. For registered nurses, you see the fee, and it has been going up, and that's the amounts it's been going up. We've been advised that the fee for registered nurses in 2015 will be $34, another increase of $4.50. We don't know what the fee will be for registered nurses in 16 and 17. And for CNPS for NPs, and for many NPs, this will probably be information you aren't aware of unless you've come from another jurisdiction. You don't pay this, we don't pay the same fees to CMPS for your liability protection. Nurse practitioners are identified as having much higher liability of registered nurses, not because their practice is poor, but because they diagnose and treat individuals, and the potential for liability is much higher because of that. So you see nurse practitioner fees as well, which have been going up, and the fee in 2015 will be $85.50 for nurse practitioners, which will be an $11 increase. The nuance of CNPS and CNA fees, which is different for us in New Brunswick, and I think sometimes we think the rest of the world is the world we know. In NANB, we are one of 2 organizations in Canada, Saskatchewan is the other, where members approve fees. In all the other jurisdictions, the board of directors set fees. You may see that as negative. What I would say to you is that those are jurisdictions where the government now sets regulation, and the reason they give the board of directors the authority to set fees is that regulation is not a voluntary process, it's a mandatory process. We must regulate the profession, the public has to be protected, and then there's no such a thing as saying, well, this year we won't do that because we don't have enough money, right? We need to be able to have the robustness and regulation required, so they believe in legislation that the board should set the fees. I will say to you, I thank you for your support of our fiscal plans over the years. I think we've developed a sense of trust and understanding, and we've delivered on our promises to you, and I thank you for that. And I think as long as we maintain that trust and we deliver on our promise, then we don't need government to establish the legislation that the board sets the fees. So the fiscal plan we're proposing is that there will be no increase in the NANB fee in 16 and 17, and that whatever the CNA fees or whatever the CMPS fees will be deferred directly to members. And I wanted to make sure during this presentation that everyone understood that, because I know people will look at the 0 and 0, but I want to make sure you understand that other nuance. The next slide is just showing you a comparison of fees across the country for this current year, 2014, right? And we've included the number of members there to give you some context, right? So for example, one of the provinces that is often looked at is Ontario. Ontario has the College of Nurses of Ontario, which is the mandatory regulatory body, as well as the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario, which is a voluntary group. You're not required to be a member of that group because you're registered through the College of Nurses of Ontario. The College of Nurses of Ontario actually has about 140,000 registered nurses that they regulate. RNAO has 26,000, and you see there the efficiencies of that many nurses and the revenue that it creates in relation to the way that their fees are set. I don't think in even a decade we would see registration fees at $800, but when you consider in the Yukon there are usually a maximum of about 450 registered nurses registered in any one year. You can see why their fees are at that level, so that they have some capacity to do some work. So that's to just show you comparatively. And you know, our goal is always to try to ensure that we have the money we need to do the work that we're mandated to do and is our obligation to the public. And that we manage within that envelope, and I think that slide shows you that. This is a report to show you our balances of revenue and expense over the years, and you see in 2011, 2012. 2012 was the first year of the fiscal plan. We had a surplus in 2013. We had a smaller surplus. 2014, we're predicting a smaller surplus. The biggest thing that surprised us with the long-range fiscal plan and the work we've been doing is that in the end, we've been able to do a lot of the work around the webinars, the e-learning modules, et cetera, at a much lower cost than we had initially been provided in estimates. So that's been to the benefit of nurses. That's grown the capital fund, and it's allowed us to advance the improvements to the building and put in the elevator earlier. And then, again, reminding you, based on those numbers we're predicting, those are not real numbers, but to do a fiscal plan, you have to do some prediction, that's where we have estimated the balance of revenue and expense will be. And I'd open it for any questions you might have. Sorry, Madam Chair, that's your job as chair of the meeting.
No, that's okay. Thank you, Roxanne. Any questions? Brenda.
Roxanne, just wanted to be sure that they understood that the actual cost to the NP would be given to the nurse practitioners and
The RNs.
Yes.
That's a good point, Brenda. So I'm going to be very specific. Could you go back to that slide with the fiscal plans on it, Shelley? So right now, when you register, nurse practitioners and registered nurses pay the same fee. That was a principle of the Board of Directors at the time when we started implementing and were authorized to regulate NPs. NPs are registered nurses. They are always registered nurses, and they have the additional credential. And we wanted to have no differential across the country. That varies. A number of jurisdictions have a different fee for nurse practitioners. The CNA fee will be dependent on what the CNA board approves for that fee. So if you approve this resolution, the actual impact, and let's say there are no increases from CNA and CNPS, is that we'll start to see a different registration fee for NPs and RNs. And that's because all of us have been subsidizing the difference between the CNPS fee for registered nurses and nurse practitioners. And it was the board's discernment that we probably had matured after a decade, and it was reasonable that the actual fee would be deferred. So going forward, there would be a difference, if nothing else changed, in the registration fee for NPs by virtue of the difference in the CNPS fee. Thanks for highlighting that, Brenda, because we want to make sure that you absolutely understand the implications of the resolution.
And Roxanne, if for clarification as well, since we know that we have some nurse practitioners in the province presently not practicing as a nurse practitioner, but as a registered nurse, they could register as a registered nurse. And when your status changes or you get employment with your expertise being a nurse practitioner, then you would pay the added fee.
That's a good point, darling.
Microphone number 2.
Teresa Dunn, St. John. I just had a question that if we had a retirement of 20% of our 55-year-old and over nurses in the next year and a half, would we still in 16-17 be able to keep our rates at 409?
That's what we're committing to in presenting this long-range fiscal plan. We would make adjustments, and that's the reality for an organization like NANB and similar for NBNU is that I guess not the same for you have a flow of cash, right? That's right, it's different, Marilyn. But we receive all our revenue at the beginning of the year with your registration fees. So if there was a big dip in membership, we would adjust. We would have another 11 months to adjust our operations. As well, I want to remind you of those other funds NANB has created, right? The board might direct, no, we want to maintain our activity in this area, so we'll transfer X number of dollars from the contingency. But in representing this fiscal plan for 16 and 17, if you approve it, that's what fees will be. But we want you to understand we don't control the CNA or the CNPS fees. But thanks for asking, because it makes sure everybody's on the same page.
Microphone number 3.
Hi, I'm Fran Seymour. I'm an RN and an NP.
Hi, Fran.
Hi. So just to be clear on the CNPS fees for RNs and NPs, because I'm an RN and an NP, will the NPs be required to pay for both of those liabilities, or is it simply the NP amount?
It is whichever status you have. And so, yes, you are a registered nurse, but if you're registered and authorized to practice as a nurse practitioner, it would be your NANB fee, the CNA fee, and the CNPS fee for NPs, not both.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions or comments?
I think there's another one.
Microphone 4. Heather,
In other
would you
words,
introduce yourself, please?
yes, Heather McQuinn, sorry. So just to clarify and to simplify it, basically the resolution is asking that permission to increase the fees if the fees increase, which likely they will, with CNA or for our malpractice insurance. Other than that, there wouldn't be an increase, but if it does, then we're giving approval for that. Right. That's what the resolution is?
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
It's to isolate those fees, and actually the resolution is a go forward. This is the fiscal plan for NANB as well, so those fees for 2016 and 2017, but that would be for the CNA and CMPS fees go forward for the future. I'll give you another example. I believe it was back in, I became ED in 2001, and I think in 2003 we brought to the annual meeting a motion that if CNA fees increased up to and including $5, we would automatically include that in your registration fee, and that was to stop the erosion of NANB operation fees, and actually all fee increases at CNA were covered by that. And so it ensures that we're not getting into a deficit in operations, right? And the other nuance of this is that we no longer vote on those fees. This new CNA bylaws, the Board of Directors will set CNA fees, so we don't even have influence on them, and the CNPS Board of Directors set fees because we need to ensure adequate revenue to ensure that $10 million of coverage you have. And you know, I want to underline, if you went out into the commercial market and tried to buy $10 million of liability insurance with tail coverage, etc., you could probably add a 0 to both of those numbers, right?
Yes.
At a minimum.
Mm-hmm. Any further questions? No,
Can I say something? I bet you people are thinking, well, what if we don't approve the resolution? What happens? Is anybody thinking that? So if you don't approve the resolution, we will have to do a new fiscal plan, right? We hope that you believe it's a positive way forward, but if it's not approved, that's what would happen.
And as Roxanne shared, we already know the fees for CNA in 2015. There is no increase for 2015, and it's on the board in respect to your CNPS fees. There's a slight increase, but in our plan, we are incorporating that already into the plan.
That's why you're president. Thank you, Darlene. That's why we're proposing this for 2016, and if you read the resolution 2016 and 2017, your CNPS fees and CNA fees were already part of our fiscal plan for 2015, and so this would be implemented as of 2016, right? So in 2015, to make it absolutely clear, registered nurses and nurse practitioners will still pay the same registration fee, and the fee will go up an additional $20 because of the last year of the long-range fiscal plan, right? You see up there, 389 to 409.
Microphone number 4.
President of York Sunbury, which is about 900 nurses in our chapter. And I know one thing that I came to the meeting with, everyone said, please do not vote to increase our fees. And I don't think everyone has an understanding of where it's coming from. And I guess I don't want to increase our fees either. But I'm trusting that, I'm sure with what I've seen here in the 2 and 3 years I've been involved, you've considered other means, and this is the best option for us. We don't know what the opposite would be, another fiscal plan, but sorry. But I'm assuming that that's all been considered. This is the best, right? Yeah.
Well, I think it's the best. That's why we're proposing it, and I think that's why the board supported it. But what I want to say to you is that we know no one likes to pay more money for anything, right? Including myself. We need adequate resources to do our regulatory work, and you, the members, showed your support to us in supporting that 4-year fiscal plan. That has made a huge difference, and you're the beneficiaries with the capacity we have. When we looked at this plan with 0 and 0 for NANB fees, we are not diminishing our work. We have plans to continue to enhance all those things that we've committed to, because we've done the planning, and with our reserves, with our resources, we believe we can do it. By addressing CNA and CMPS fees this way, we believe it stabilizes NANB operations. I will tell you that you use the phrase, we can anticipate those fees will go up. You may not know this, but I'm currently the NANB representative on the board of directors of CMPS. Liability is changing absolutely in this country. And with nurse practitioners out there practicing and registered nurses practicing in many different fields and the expanded scope of registered nurses, we're seeing many more issues around injury to individuals and practice. When I say many more, this is still not an enormous number, but it's very different than it was 20 years ago, right? If you remember, we've had liability protection from CNPS for, the organization is just over 25 years now, for about $12 a year for well over 15 years. If you're not aware, go to the CNPS site. You're a member. You can benefit from the resources there. It's transforming. And nurses are getting involved in cosmetic procedures. Nurses are getting involved in different kinds of therapies, and liability is important. I'm saying that to you that I anticipate that liability fees will change. But the beauty of CNPS is that those fee changes are not huge. You see here, you've got $5, $4, $8, $11. We're not talking about suddenly a $100 increase, because the only jurisdictions that aren't members of CNPS are British Columbia and Quebec, and part of the nurses. So we benefit from the fact that we're all members of this group plan, if you want. CNA as well has had a significant increase in their fees, and I think they're very aware that there's only so much members are going to be able to support. Will they raise their fees? I don't know, potentially, but I can as well tell you I don't anticipate their fees would increase by $20 or $30 per person. But thank you for being transparent and sharing the message. We did send out the information to remind people that there's an opportunity for proxy voting. We're putting before you the most responsible fiscal plan we see that stabilizes NANB resources going into the future, and we're committed to those 2 years not increasing any fees. And if you approve this fiscal plan, that's what will happen. So thanks for the precision.
Thank you. It's hard. I think I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do when I go back, but if Darlene feels that we're done discussion, I will motion that, I'll give the first motion that we pass it based on this understanding and the trust that you've well earned.
This is just a report. We're going to move into the resolution committee's report, and then they'll call at that time.
So I'll hold you to that motion in about two minutes, Heather.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much, Roxanne, and thank you, Heather. Okay, moving along. So now I'll call on Cheryl Balcom, the chairperson of the Resolutions Committee, to address the Assembly. A copy of the resolution was published in Info Nursing, and it's also included in your registration kit. It's on a blue piece of paper. And she'll just read the be it resolved. Okay, Sarah.
One resolution was received for publication in Info Nursing prior to the deadline for submission. No resolutions were received from the floor prior to the 2:40 p.m. deadline. So resolution number 1, submitted by NANB Board of Directors, be it resolved that effective 2016, the annual NANB membership fees for RNs and NPs shall automatically be adjusted by any change in the CNA fee and any change in the CNPS, RN, and NP professional liability protection fees. I move the adoption of Resolution 1.
So Heather, you're up.
In a motion.
So Heather seconds. So we have a motion on the floor. It's open for discussion. Microphone number 2.
I'm sorry, I was going to second it.
Oh, okay, Rhonda, did you want to speak to the motion?
Other than I agree, and I second the motion.
Okay, thanks, Rhonda. Microphone 1, did you? No. Okay. Sarah moved the motion as chair, and so Heather seconded it. So thank you. We didn't need another one. Any further discussion in respect to the motion? Is everything clear on what you'll be voting on? Do you have any further questions? Because as Roxanne shared, we want you to be comfortable in what you're agreeing to. Are we ready for the motion? All those in favor of the resolution as presented? Well, it looks like a contrary-minded. Any abstentions? Okay, the motion is carried, and thank you very much. I thank you personally because this was a concern and an issue of mine is when you have, absolutely over the years, we have been proud to support and be a member of CNA, and as a nurse practicing in New Brunswick, whether you're a nurse or a nurse practitioner, you have to have malpractice or some kind of insurance. So to the association, the Nurses Association of New Brunswick, you can't have two other organizations impacting your ability to do your primary work. So I thank you very much. And Heather, be sure and share with them, any members you are speaking to, any registration fee increase that has to do with the portion that is the work of the association and the primary mandate will come back to the members, and therefore the members will get to hold the organization and the board of directors accountable to any fee increase they request. So I thank you very much. Before we proceed, I would like to invite members to join me, in expressing our gratitude to members of the Board of Directors who are completing their term of office. We'd like to thank them for their commitment they have demonstrated and would invite them to stand and be acknowledged as I call their name. Chantal Semur from Region 1. Oh, Chantal might have stepped out for a minute. Amy McLeod from Region 3. Linda LePage Leclerc, Region 5. Rhonda Shattuck from Region 7. Fernand Chouinard is one of our public members. And Wayne Trail, our public member. Both Wayne Trail and Madame Chouinard's names have been submitted to the Lieutenant Governor, and we're hopeful that they will be appointed for a second term. But in case they're not, we thank you very much for your commitment. Thank you to the board. The nominating committee is composed of the immediate past president, France Marquis, as chairperson, and two registered nurse directors of the association's board. For the first time, registered members cast their ballots online, I'm getting a feedback, by telephone this year, replacing paper ballots. For your information, our chief scrutineer randomly monitored both online. Do you want to go the other way? Yeah, maybe. It's distracting. We'll try this one. So our chief scrutineer randomly monitored both online and telephone voting processes to ensure that all aspects of the electronic voting process were functioning as expected throughout the two-week voting period, confirmed that the ballot box was empty at the start of the election, and verified the election results upon closing. Approximately 14% of the total eligible voters participated in this year's election. Overwhelmingly, the new process was a positive experience for participants, and several comments were received by email and phone, indicating the process was simple and straightforward. Although there can only be one individual selected for each position, we'd like to recognize all the nurses who put their candidacy forward this year. So from Region 1, and I'm not sure if they're all here, I know a few are, Julie Emile Boudreau. I'm not sure, is she in the assembly? Thank you. Joanne LeBlanc-Chasson, I did speak to her earlier. And Rob Swigner, he let me know that he wouldn't be able to attend the meeting. From Region 3 was Amy McLeod. Amy's there. And Beth Chappelle is at the back. Very good. For Region 5, Therese Thompson. And Lisa Kierstead Johnston. So again, thank you very much for we recognize the value, your interest, and we hope you'll continue to contribute your time and energy to the association and the profession. And when I spoke to all of you on the phone, I also encouraged you to put your name forward for our committees, our education, our discipline, and our complaints committee. We value that nurses in the province are willing to participate in the association, so please consider doing that. I now invite Sharon Hall-Kay, Chief Scrutineer, to come forward and present the report of the election.
Good afternoon. The report of the election is as follows. 3 candidates were presented for the position of Director for Region 1. The election results are number of ballots cast for Region 1, 166. Number of spoiled ballots were 2. Number of ballots for Julie Emily Boudreau was 58. Number of ballots for Joanne LeBlanc-Chasson were 67. Number of ballots for Robert Zwicker were 39. 2 candidates were presented for the position of Director for Region 3. The election results are number of ballots cast 103, number of spoiled ballots were 0, number of ballots for Beth Harpel were 30, number of ballots for Amy McLeod were 73. There was 1 single candidate for the position of Director for Region 5, Therese Thompson, and for Region 7, Lisa Kierstead Johnson, so no ballot was required for either of those regions. I'd like to take the opportunity to congratulate the association for being progressive and moving to an electronic voting process. It certainly eased the ballot counting, where we didn't sit in one-by-one count paper and recount paper. The process was very user-friendly. I'm a couple of days past 12, and I'm not a techno-savvy person, so it was really quite user-friendly for me to go on and audit that things worked as they should. So I thank you for the opportunity to act as your Chief Scrutineer, and I submit my report, Madam President.
I'll try this mic once more. Thank you, Sharon, very much. This was a good year to do the elections, where, as you can see, we had elections in the odd number regions, and next year we'll be having our election for president-elect, so we wanted to work any of the bugs out of the system early this year, and it's worked very, very well, and we had a lot of feedback, so thank you, Sharon, for the work you did, and the staff. It's really went well. Now I get the pleasure of announcing the results of the election and ask the successful candidates to stand and come forward as I announce their names, please. The successful candidate for Region 1 Directors, Joanne LeBlanc-Chasson. The successful candidate for Region 3 is Amy McLeod. For Region 5, Therese Thompson. And Region 7 Director, Lisa Kierstead Johnston. And now I'll introduce your Board of Directors. Region 2, Jillian Lawson, and our hopefully future nurse, Jax. Region 4, Jose Susi. Jose. Region 6, Annie Boudreau. And our public member, Edward. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your 20... Oh, did I skip over Brenda? As I said, I'm left-handed, so when I said Brenda's my left hand, that's, you know, most people say my right hand. Well, I'm left-handed, so she's my left hand. That's why earlier when I said, sorry, Brenda, I just know you're always there. Thank you. And Brenda Kinney, our president-elect. Ladies and gentlemen, your board of directors. Before I move to any new business, on behalf of the Board of Directors and registered nurses and nurse practitioners in the province, I want to recognize our Provincial Chief Nursing Officer, Mary O'Keefe-Roback. Mary, would you please come forward? Mary's announced her retirement this coming July, and on behalf of all of us, I want to congratulate Mary on her diverse and challenging career. Thank you, Mary. And especially thank her for her work as New Brunswick's Chief Nursing Office in the interest of the public and the profession. Because you may not know it, but across the country, all the provinces do not have a Chief Nursing Officer. Mary has represented us well in New Brunswick for over 4 years and over 20 plus in the Department of Health. Mary and I used to work together years ago in CCU. We won't say how long ago. But that we're so proud and congratulations and wish you well, and have a small gift for you, and pleased to see that the government is also filling the position. So we're really pleased with that. The association will be emailing all of you an electronic evaluation form in respect to the annual meeting. Would you please fill it out and send back any comments you have? We're always looking to improve things, so please fill it out. It will only take a minute. And I believe our photographer wanted to say a few things, and so I was going to give him this opportunity. You want to share something? Yeah.
Thank you, Darlene. Hi. This is not my normal spot. I want to extend an invitation to all of you, and quite frankly, all the other 755,000 people in New Brunswick. I'm doing a book called Faces of New Brunswick at the moment. I'm working on that right now, and I'm trying to contact everybody around the province to first of all tell me who should be there, people who we should celebrate for their accomplishments and their positive contributions to the world around them. And obviously you have some wonderful people within the nursing profession that have been doing just exactly that. Part of this book is what I'm calling, and you'll hear about it, which is called Group Hugs. If you take a look at the map of New Brunswick and you draw about 15 different circles around the province to incorporate and to include every person in the province, there'll be about 15 different group hugs, I'm calling, in the greater Fredericton area, greater Moncton, greater St. John, Edmundston, Acadian Peninsula, all that kind of stuff. I would like everybody in the province to show up and be a part of those group photographs to be included in this book. So as you go back to your communities, when you hear about the group hugs that are arranged in your communities, some are arranged now, July 1st in St. Andrews, August 2nd in Grand Manan, probably here in Fredericton fairly shortly, some of the other major areas. But when you hear about it, could you bring all of your nursing associates and all of the people within your communities and just celebrate the people of the province? There will be people within this room that are going to be included in the book and featured in it as well, but that's a secret right now. So anyway. But I would be delighted if you could all show up along with everybody else. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And some staff wanted to come and announce winners of the draw. Virgil?
Bon après-midi.
Good afternoon. So I have the nice job to announce the winners of the 5 prizes we had at the table.
Will be available at the registration booth, so on your way out, the winners can pick up their prize. So for the CNA gift bag, the winner is Teresa Dunn. Pour le livre uniforme.
For the book on the nursing uniform, Linda Austin Borin.
Sherry Graydon, Annie Boudreau.
Oh.
For the other book that was offered to us by Sherry Graydon, Kathy Davies.
Okay.
And finally, for the English book, Nurses Uniform, Lisa Kiersett Johnson. Yay. So congratulations. The prizes are all at the registration booth.
Thank you, Virgil. So I'd like to thank the volunteers and staff of the Nurses Association for a wonderful meeting again. I'm always so impressed with the organization and how easy everything flows, and they put up with those of us who get elected every 2 years, and it changes, and you get these new people you have to deal with, so I thank you, because I know it's not always easy. We all have our own little personal quirks that you have to put up with, so I thank you. Job well done. This has been fabulous. A great job again. The venue has been wonderful. The service has been great. The staff have been available and present, and it has been wonderful. So I thank you very much. So on behalf of all of us, thank you to the staff. And I just have a couple of plugs to put in. So the CNA Biennium is starting in a couple of weeks in Winnipeg in June. In 2016, New Brunswick will host the CNA Biennium in St. John. So for anybody in the room, or if you know some nurses who are going to Winnipeg, we have a job for you. The job is that we want to invite nurses across the country to Canada, back to New Brunswick in 2016. So please, in case I don't recognize any of you there, come and see us, or we'll put a call out to you that we want to have a strong voice and invite nurses back to New Brunswick in 2016 when we celebrate our 100th year anniversary and host the CNA Biennium. So if you would share that with your peers and your colleagues who you know who are fortunate enough to attend the Biennium in a couple of weeks. And then also in 2015, our next annual meeting will be June the 4th, so it will be our longer meeting. So look forward to seeing a lot of you there again next year. So thank you for that. And that was all I had to share. And on behalf of everybody and the Board of Directors, I thank you very much for staying for the business meeting, the annual meeting, and for being so patient and not taking a break. So I thank you very much, and I officially call the meeting adjourned.